everyone, to Caleb Watches Movies, the channel where I, Caleb, randomly select from one of the many movies that I own, and I watch and review them for you, except for videos like today, because today I like talking about my favorite genre of film out there, and that is the superhero comic book genre, and we had a lot of properties that came out this past year that were really excellent, a couple of duds here and there, but what I like to do at the end of every year since I started this channel is ranking every single one of them. And I'm really excited this year because last year it was like grasping at straws trying to find like at least 10 superhero properties to review and to rank. So to have just a bunch of different things, and actually Marvel is now back in the game this year, it feels so good to be doing this list again. And this is a movie review channel, and the title of this video says superhero movie ranking, but what I'm doing, because I didn't get any Marvel last year, I'm including all of the Disney Plus MCU TV shows included in with all the movies that were released this year. Now, some of you, after hearing that, is going like, well, this isn't a real list, or blah, 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 blah. I don't care. This is my list. I do what I want. So in my book, there were 14 different superhero comic book properties that deserve to be on this list, and let's get to them. At the bottom of my list is a film that came out very early on in 2021 on Netflix. It's a superhero film called Thunder Force. And you'll never Thunder Force me to watch this piece of shit again. I don't know if any of you out there know what a Hollywood paycheck looks like. It looks like this movie. Octavia Spencer is a great actress. She has given so many great performances in a lot of highly acclaimed movies. But here, I guess she was starving? She's just standing in the background, not giving any emotion, looking like she is bored out of her mind. She's just standing there. Oh, here's the problem. Here's something I need to do. Oh, I'm angry at you. And Melissa McCarthy is not that much better. I mean, she does have more opportunities in the script to be Melissa McCarthy and to be the funny person that we all know her to be. This is just a sad excuse for a superhero film that no one should ever watch, and I'm pretty sure no one has actually watched this movie, so I'm gonna stop talking about it. At number 13 is one of the most annoying films that I have ever seen in the history of films that I have seen, and it's a disgrace to the superhero genre. Of course, I'm talking about Venom, Let There Be Carnage. This is the third time on this channel this year I have talked about this movie, and I'm sick of doing that. Sadly, with my ranking of the worst films that I reviewed on this year that's going to be coming out later this week, I have a feeling I'm going to be talking about it again. What else is there to say? The directing, the editing of this film is terrible. No transitions, scenes that you can tell are just cut to shit and cut and paste together. We have a story here of Eddie Brock and Venom parting ways, which goes against everything that we learned in the first film, because in order for them to survive, they need to be together. So why are you separating? That's just fucking dumb. And speaking of dumb things, Carnage gets his powers, and Cletus gets his girlfriend, and they could go off, and they could terrorize and live anywhere they want in the entire world, but you know what they need to do first? They need to be seen as married in the eyes of God and the law and go through the ceremony of getting married, only to allow time for Venom and for Eddie Brock to reach them and stop them. Dumb ass. Why do you need to get married at a church? Why do you need to get married? What? Just why? Oh, and how fitting it is that the girlfriend has screaming powers. And you know what the only thing is that can defeat Venom and Carnage? Loud noises. Stupid. It's frickin' stupid. The film only exists for that post-credit scene, which, you know, is pretty cool. However, in retrospect of what it was actually used for in the actual Spider-Man movie that I'll be talking about later on, what was the frickin' point? At number 12 is not a superhero movie at all, but it is based on a comic book property. That's why it's on this list. It was also supposed to come out at the end of last year, and then it got moved due to the whole pandemic thing that is still going on. But I'm gonna count it on my list anyway. It was just released last week, The Kingsman. And this film is about the start of the whole Kingsman organization, what drove the founding fathers to create the organization. And we have a great performance from Ralph Fiennes, and we have some very strange, weird choreography fighting from Rasputin. But really, the film just felt like a trudge for the first 2 acts, and there were many points where I just felt like ending my viewing of it. But then you get to the 3rd act and the climax, and everything seemed to be worth it, and it redeemed itself a lot in that climax. But the whole journey of getting there, it felt like a trudge. It was paint-by-number stuff with a father and his son, and the father makes a promise to look out for the son, but the son wants to go off and fight in World War I, which, why would you want to do that? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And then we have a villain who keeps his face hidden for the entire movie up until the end, even though, to me, it's pretty obvious who it is, but he's going for that Blofeld James Bond maneuver, and part of me is like, oh yeah, James Bond, Blofeld, that's fun. But the other part of me is like, why does this film exist? I'd rather have Kingsman 3 with Taron Egerton, as opposed to this prequel thing that, honestly, I wasn't asking for, and I don't think it's necessary. At number 11 is the first Disney Plus TV show that is on my list from the MCU. A show that had a lot of great animation and a lot of cool things that happened, but I was lacking the substance. A show called What If? And I feel like I'm painting myself into a corner because this list is gonna generate some controversy from a couple of my subscribers who are definitely gonna be commenting on this. Why are you putting What If so low on your list? Well, to be honest, there were a lot of great comic book superhero properties that came out this year, so in that regards, you gotta put something towards the bottom, and I felt no substance, and I felt no urge to keep watching this TV show from week to week. Granted, there were some amazing episodes. The Doctor Strange episode in particular, the zombie episode is great, and the episode where Ultron gets the Infinity Stones and start wreaking havoc on all the multiverse. But aside from those 3 episodes, every episode that came out besides those is like, oh, well, hey, here's something cool, but it's a multiverse, and it's not the main universe that you and I are accustomed to and that we follow in the cinematic world, so why should I care? Maybe if a couple of these characters show up in the main storyline that all of us are following, maybe I will care a little bit more, but because they don't, this series just lacks substance for me. Plus, the season is not finished. There's a whole episode that Gamora, the daughter of Thanos, it was completely cut because it wasn't done in time due to the pandemic, which I don't understand. It's animation. All of that is done, can be done remotely, so why didn't you get that done in time for release? This is supposed to have 10 episodes, not 9. That way the final episode kind of didn't make sense with her character. But, you know, okay, Disney, you do what you want, and I'm gonna do what I want and put it at number 11 on my list. At number 10, and this is going to be the one that's definitely controversial because this show is revered. It's critically acclaimed. It was nominated for several different Golden Globes and Emmys. And it was the first thing that we got from the MCU in Phase 4, and that was WandaVision. Now, I loved WandaVision as a concept and how it started. I think it was really cool, I think it was really innovative, and I think it was a great idea to move this MCU universe to television by honoring a lot of the TV genres that we've had over several decades. But then as the show went on, I felt like the conflict and the problems and the characters just kind of got thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. All leading up to a climax where Wanda says goodbye to Vision and to her kids that she has manifested in her mind, and it got a lot of people emotional, and a lot of people loved that moment. But for me, I couldn't connect to it because maybe I'm a cynic, maybe I'm a realist, but I knew that all of those people were not really there. They weren't real. They were all dead. They never existed. So the whole moment that was supposed to be so emotional for me as an audience member, I'm just not feeling. Plus, we already got a great moment between Wanda and Vision in Infinity War where Wanda does say goodbye to Vision. And that scene was beautiful. I love that scene. And it was done better than this entire TV show. Witches from Salem, and basically the whole final battle is stolen from Ang Lee's Hulk. You want my power? Take it! And because I'm giving it to you, it's gonna reinforce my power and make me stronger. Yeah, seen it before. Sorry. At number 9 is another Disney Plus MCU TV show called Loki, and another show that I felt started very strongly, but then built up to a climax that was very The first episode is my favorite episode, and that's Loki trying to escape the TVA and trying to get power and try to get an audience with whoever is running this whole thing. But through the chaos, he is figuring out just how insignificant he is in this universe. He stumbles across just a pile of Infinity Stones that the TVA has collected over the many years. They're being used as paperweights. And him getting that realization that the thing that he's been fighting for and been searching for really means nothing in the grand scheme of everything. And then seeing him witness his death and where his actual path leads him to, you can see the emotion and the pain from him realizing that he is inconsequential in this entire end game, this entire end result of where this universe is going. And really that's the overall theme so far in the whole MCU in Phase 4, is these characters coming to the realization that the world doesn't revolve around them. And I love those aspects. I love Owen Wilson in this show. He's just, you know, wow, this is great stuff. Here's Loki. And I love the whole concept of Loki falling in love with himself, and that's the only person who he could love as much as he loves himself. But it all built up to a climax with revealing Kang the Conqueror, talking about how, well, if you kill me, so many different versions of me are going to pop up in so many different timelines, and the timeline branching off thing is cool, but you know, you're building yourself up to be a big game, but currently right now, we haven't seen you anywhere else, so it's a lot of talk. And the show just ends on a flat note. I am excited to see where it goes, though, in Season 2. At number 8 is another Disney Plus TV show that really hurts me to put this low, because I think this is one of the best things that Marvel Studios has produced, especially when it comes to the Disney Plus TV series. But The Falcon and Winter Soldier comes in here at number 8, and there are a lot of great things that I love about this show. The emotional scenes where Bucky is getting rid of the programs in his brain, and when he's in Wakanda, the emotion that you see in him, it's beautiful and it's touching. But I also love the philosophical questions that this show presents, especially revolving around Sam picking up the mantle and the shield of Captain America. Him being a black man in America, a country that historically has not stood behind their African-American citizens. So it's not just a question of, well, I picked up the shield, what should I do? There's the question of, hey, I'm a black man in America, should I even pick up this shield? And I love this story, and I love how they build up to the climax of him putting on this badass costume and flying around kicking ass. The villain of this TV series, though, is something to be desired. She just wants to go around and show all the powers that be just how off the mark they are, and how, you know, us down below who get all the scraps, we deserve the power ourselves. Basically, her accent reminded me of a younger and a female version of Michael Caine, and it was just annoying to listen to her talk from week to week. But I do love the reintroduction of Baron Zemo in his awesome Baron Zemo mask, and I love seeing this relationship between Captain America and the Winter Soldier just build up even more. This is one of the few Disney Plus shows where I was like, yes, I want to see more of these characters, give me more of this. At number 7 was the first full-length feature film of the MCU, something that was supposed to come out last year, and Disney was like, well, we have the streaming service, but, you know, pandemic-wise, we need to make money, so we're actually going to hold off and not do it in 2020, you know, at all, which really ticked me the frick off last year. But it finally came out, and I absolutely loved it, a movie called Black Widow. This character had been in the MCU since 2010, since Iron Man 2, and she just finally got her first featured-length film, and that's pretty sad if you ask my opinion. Really, this movie should have come out in the midst of Phase 3, after Captain America Civil War and before Avengers Infinity War. But to be honest, I don't think Marvel was very confident in putting a female lead in one of their superhero films, not until films like Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel proved them wrong. And I like what we get here, especially the introduction of Florence Pugh as Yelena. She is just the golden star of this movie, and one of the golden stars of the MCU now. And I love the conflict and the villain of this film and his reasoning for doing what he does. You know, you talk about Infinity War and Thanos snapping away half of the universe to save resources for all of those who survive. Well, in this film, to hear the main villain say the words that the greatest resource that we have on this planet is women, shook me to my bones. Even just saying that out loud gives me goosebumps, because that is one of the most disgusting things I've ever heard a character say in a movie. and to so many real villains in this world. To those terrible people, that sentiment is absolutely true. So to see these villains blown out of the sky and wiped off the map makes me very happy. I really enjoyed this film, but again, this film should have come out many years ago. At number 6 is another MCU film that came out this year. I just love that we got Marvel Cinematic Universe films this year. Last year sucked. And this film too, a bigger majority than usual with MCU fans. Kinda sucked to them, but it didn't suck to me. I really enjoyed this movie called Eternals. Being a DC fan and being a huge fan of Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Zack Snyder's Justice League, to see fans of this movie on the Marvel side have fans not like it and getting to fights back and forth online about you're right, you're wrong, kind of puts a smile on my face. It's like, now you know how us DC fans feel. And speaking of DC, I don't like to really say that Zack Snyder's style didn't influence the cinematography here, but it was talked about from the director that Man of Steel really influenced the cinematography. This feels very much like a DC film. Everything feels grounded. The color palette is not so bright and vibrant. We have a lot of gray tones in here, which gives this a more realistic feeling. And the concept behind the Eternals, these are godlike figures who are living amongst us, and that goes against very much what Marvel is. A lot of the MCU is about everyday, normal human beings who get superpowers or take it upon themselves to do what is right. They're the everyman type character, trying to achieve godlike status. Whereas here, that's totally flipped, and we have characters who are literal gods on this planet, trying to blend in and trying to be human. And I really enjoyed it. But the thing I really enjoyed about this movie, what I enjoyed the most, is the inclusion that this film represented. We have people from different cultures and societies from all over this world and are featured in a Marvel Cinematic Universe film. It's not just all white people. And we have our first gay kiss in the MCU, finally in this film. Actually, our very first sex scene overall is in this movie. Finally, people behaving like people in this movie. And I think that's where a lot of the Rotten Tomatoes controversy on this film came from. I feel like a lot of people review bombed this film because there was that gay kiss that was in this movie that was just so controversial to so many people. It's two people kissing. It's a husband and a husband kissing each other. Why? Because they love each other. Get over it. That's why I like this film, is the inclusion, and I think it's great. At number 5 is the last Disney Plus TV show that came out this year that just wrapped up last week. Hawkeye made it home for Christmas. We're talking about Hawkeye. Jeremy Renner getting a solo project as Hawkeye, and we're introduced to the amazing Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop, who is frickin' awesome. And to see them develop their relationship with each other and become partners, we get Lucky, we get Pizza Dog, this adorable golden retriever. I love this show so much. And Hawkeye was always one of my favorite Avengers from the original 6. Everyone's saying like, oh, he's just pointless. He's just a dude shooting arrows. That's the point. He's a dude shooting arrows. He's shooting arrows against aliens, killer robots, and killer aliens. Yeah, that's cool to me. And the movie saves a great Netflix Marvel property. It brings in Wilson Fisk. Vincent D'Onofrio is in the MCU. How could you not love it? And it's a very grounded TV show too. The fight choreography, I love the aesthetic and the lighting design, and the end credit sequence, just how clean it is based on the Matt Fraction great little run that he had, which is one of my favorite runs in all of comics. I love everything about this TV show. The aesthetic, the characters, the presentation, the saving of Wilson Fisk from Netflix's Daredevil. I love this show. Everyone needs to see it. I'm probably going to be watching it every year for Christmas. At number 4, and it really, really pains me to put this at number 4. It really deserves to be number 1. If anyone out there puts it as number 1, you'll get no argument from me, and I wish I could. I just can't, though. And I have to put at number 4, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I use the word beautiful a lot on my channel, but that's the only word that describes this film perfectly. It is beautiful in every aspect. In particular, what really connected to me is the emotional fight choreography that we have here. The different fighting styles and how they represented the characters and who they were. The Mandarin using very aggressive movements and very offensive movements. Whereas Shang-Chi, at the very end of the film, when he's learning about his mother's style and who his mother was, uses the elements and uses the body's flow and does it very gracefully and not so hard and fist heavy. The film is absolutely stunning, and it's all based on emotion. We've had father and son relationships in films before, but it's done from a very masculine standpoint of it being hard and, oh, you got to be tough because you're my son. This film, though, flips it on his head, and the relationship that we get in here is very emotionally driven, and it's done out of love. They fight each other. It's not out of vengeance. It's not out of hatred. They genuinely love each other. They just want each other to stop and be a family again. And that makes this Mandarin probably one of the best villains in all of the MCU, because what he does, what he is doing, his main driving force is his love for his dead wife. And there is a wonderful moment in here at the very end when he's about to break down the barrier, and he's looking down at Shang-Chi, and he says something to the fact of, "You're the reason why my wife is dead. You were there. You just stood in a window and watched her die." And it's like, yes, thank you for telling the truth. You did the responsible thing years ago, and you accepted the kid, you took him in, you cared for him, you trained him. When really all you wanted to do was wring his neck because, you know what, he was there, and you did put a lot of the blame on his shoulders. Even though he was a kid, he couldn't have done anything. And even if he tried to save her, he probably would have been killed himself. This film is great. It is one of the best out of the whole MCU, done out of emotion, done through so many beautiful CGI and costume design. I love this movie. It pains me so much to put it at number 4, but the other films I enjoyed just a little bit more. At number 3 is a movie that came out on HBO Max, really our first little DC property here this year, and on this list, The Suicide Squad. I remember watching this, and right as soon as it ended, I wanted to go back and watch it again. I've watched this movie so many times since it was released, because the creation of character in here is amazing. James Gunn knows how to create character and put these characters into interesting situations and give these characters great conversation between each other, and he also knows his action. I really loved this movie. I think another thing about it was that the bar was so low because, you know, just what's going on with the DCEU and Warner Brothers and just certain things. The air cut with the Suicide Squad movie from 2016. It's all just a big mess. So my bar was really low, and they just fully exceeded it. This is one of my favorite movies of the year. And James Gunn understands Harley Quinn. This is the best and most Harley Quinn we have ever gotten in any film. The scene where she shoots the dictator and explains why she is killing him, that's just Harley Quinn. That is who Harley Quinn is. She has great intentions and she does great things, but she does it in what could be considered an evil way. We have an awesome introduction of Peacemaker, who's going to be getting his TV show in the next month. We have frickin' Polka Dot Man in this movie, who was awesome. Polka Dot Man. And surprising, one of my favorite characters of the movie, Ratcatcher 2. This whole movie, everything in this, I absolutely loved, and I could watch it on loop for the next 10 years. At number 2, and I'll be honest, there are moments where I could put this at number 1, but I think number 1, just emotionally for me and the journey over the last several years, deserves to be number 1, but that doesn't mean that this film is any less great, because it really is. It really is an amazing movie, and I'm putting my foot down right now. It is the best of the MCU, Spider-Man No Way Home. And I did a whole Spider-Man movie review series in the month of December, so I encourage you to go check that out. I ranked all the Spider-Man movies too, but I did that before I saw this movie, and I think this movie deserves to be at the top of that list. Because when you talk about the mythos and the character of Spider-Man, there is a curse, there is a burden of being Spider-Man, of having these spider powers. And so far in the MCU, I, as an audience member, have not felt that from Tom Holland. That was until this movie existed. This movie is the perfect representation of the Spider-Man line: with great power comes great responsibility. All these villains from all these different universes are coming in, and Tom Holland's Spider-Man, he could easily have just said, you know, we're just send them back. But Aunt May, who is his conscience, who is the voice of reason, has that great and important line of, with great power comes great responsibility. These people need your help. Would it be easy to just send them back to their own time right away? Absolutely. Only for them to die when they get back there? You have the responsibility, because you have the power, to help them, to save them. Even if they stab you in the back, and even if they turn their back on you, it is still worth it to do the right thing and to try to help. God, I'm kind of getting teary-eyed just thinking about it. This movie shot Tom Holland up on my list as my favorite Spider-Man and Peter Parker. The movie just works from start to finish. We have a lot of great cameos in here that are not just cameos for cameo's sake. They actually make sense, and they actually work for the overall story. What great thing hasn't been said about this movie? It's one of the highest rated films in the MCU. It is the best out of all of them. And I gave that a lot of thought because I'm a big Captain America Winter Soldier fan. This movie is the best, and it makes my heart warm just thinking about it. I want to go back and watch it. There are so many great moments that I just want to frame and put on my wall, because just seeing the people on screen, I'm trying not to spoil it, just seeing the people on screen is just freaking beautiful. And the decisions that are made at the end of the movie brings tears to your eyes, but it really fulfills the whole mythos of who Spider-Man really is. However, at number 1 is one hell of a journey of an artist trying to get something made, because it was their original vision from many years ago that Zack Snyder had to give up due to family tragedy and constant berating from producers and executives from Warner Brothers. But what we finally got was a 4-hour masterpiece of a superhero film, and hell, just an epic film in general. This is Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's the perfect example of why an artist needs the freedom to create. That's what artists do. They create things, but when you stifle that, when you put a cage around an artist and you restrict them from doing things, they can't free their wings to fly and to be an artist. So you stifle that creative flame, which happened to Zack Snyder for many years, and also the death of his daughter during filming of this film. Then Warner Brothers brings Joss Whedon in to make this Justice League Avengers, and that didn't work, and all of the controversy behind the scenes of Joss Whedon threatening to end Gal Gadot's career, and all the racist remarks towards people of color in this movie, in particular Ray Fisher, giving us that Frankenstein of a mess of a film in 2017 that we're just never going to talk about again. Here, though, they did the right thing and put out the full version of Zack Snyder's Justice League. 4 hours. It doesn't feel like 4 hours. This is one epic tale, one epic journey that still deserves a part 2 and part 3. There is a conclusion to this overall story that started back in Man of Steel that deserves to be seen by audiences. If we never get those, am I satisfied with this film? I am. I would be okay, but really Justice League 2 and 3 in this whole Snyderverse, it really needs to happen. Every wrong about that original cut of Justice League is corrected here. Cyborg is given more to do and is shown really as the heart of the movie. The Flash is not a bumbling idiot. He actually has important things. And the climax, what he does, why would Warner Brothers, Joss Whedon, why would they cut that out? And it makes Steppenwolf, the villain of the movie, an actual villain of the movie. Not just this CGI video game of a character from before doing evil things because he has reason now. We get why he is here on Earth doing the things that he is doing. And we got no weird-ass chin of Clark Kent and Superman in this movie. Thank God. I think I was just telling myself that, no, it's not that bad from the original cut. It really is. It really is that bad. This film will end up being one of my top 10 just favorite films altogether, just from the journey and from the end product of this artist finally getting the chance to provide his art to everyone. And it's also Max's favorite film of the year in the superhero genre. Isn't that right, bud? Yeah, you really like Zack Snyder's Justice League? Oh yeah, he does. See? He's really happy about it. And that is my list of all of the superhero comic book films that came out in 2021. Yes, I know. I enjoyed the list too. What did you think about it? What is your ranking of all of these different properties? Whatever you thought, comment below. Let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so you know the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel. Happy New Year, everyone. In the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.